What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Artistry. I know I lean towards my makeup and stuff, but I love actually posting like my art videos and stuff because I am an artist, I guess, first and foremost. And before I even get started on this video, I'm just basically organizing my paint back up. That way it's just a little bit easier for me to work. And basically how I do it is I have like the big like containers of paint, so those are ones I put in first, and then I start adding like the ones that are like lightly, like, or not even lightly, the ones that are less fuller are the last ones I put in, just because I want those fuller ones first. That way like they help like everything stay up. And I'm going in with my smaller sizes, and I'm going in with the ones that have the most paint, and I'm adding those first. Like I said, this helps just with my other products to stand up. If I put like all of them in randomly in whatever order, like it might be harder for me to keep some other ones from falling. So that's just like my method to my madness. But yeah, I get most of my paint from Michael's, and it's like the Artistry brand. I feel like it works pretty well. You can use Liquitex, you can use whatever paint, like whatever. I first started off with paint, I would use like the acrylic paint that was in like those like little tubes. It's like a really small container, like, and they're cheaper. So I feel like start off with whatever product you can afford. And I feel like I would start off with like those little containers I'm talking about are like usually like $1 or $2, just because like when you're first starting off, like I feel like it's just you practicing and you just like trying different things, and sometimes you just don't have that extra money to spend, like just trying to invest in certain like paints and stuff. And I feel like try it before you want to invest in everything. That way if you don't like it, you don't have to spend that much money, because like I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like those small tubes are like $4 to $6 if I'm not mistaken, and I feel like the big tubes are like $8 something. But usually I get the paint when it's on sale. They'll usually have like different sales at Michael's, like it's either like buy one or buy two get one free or something like that, or buy three get two free. It's always a deal every like couple weeks and stuff, and they do like the lowest price of the season every season. So that's like every like 3-4 months. But yeah, I just use that brand just because it's a little bit more affordable for me, and I actually like that these are a little bit thicker, so like they're gonna be a little bit more opaque. And I do different layers. I have been just doing a different art style where I'm like adding different textures and stuff, and I'm not making everything always smooth. I'd like to see the textures like pop out in my work, and I believe I'm almost done with this piece, or I already am done with this. I've taken some of my art pieces that I finished this summer, and I used them as decoration for my classroom. So yeah, I'll probably like post like an update with like more of my updated like paintings. I know I have one coming up soon, but I finished like so many paintings during like the end of the summer, just because I was like just at home like working on my art, working on my craft. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely grown, and I've been leaning towards color pencil, because if you like really know me, you know that like a couple years ago all I used was color pencils, and I did some of my favorite works with color pencils. And I'm just like illustrating different things. Like I like to make stickers and stuff, and I just feel like that's the easiest way, because I'll just like draw it on paper, and then I'll just like outline it with Posca pens. And I just feel like that's just like my go-to illustration style, and it feels good to like get back into doing color pencils. Like I love paint, which is crazy to say, because I used to hate paint just because I didn't understand how to blend it, and I was like trying to make things like look realistic, because that's what we were taught during school, and I just struggled with it, I feel like, a lot, unless I was doing like illustrative work. But I feel like I've definitely like learned how to use the medium, and like I know how to create like the looks I want. Like I can make things very smooth and like make the layers a little bit more seamless. But I just like the the extra character that it creates when you're like doing like layers like this. You let the paint like I don't want to say buckle up, but you let the paint be thick in certain areas. Like it just adds to the dimension, you feel me? But yeah, usually I will move like area to area, because that's just like the easiest way. Like you're trying not to like make anything like mess up. But this is a piece that's definitely done, and I love how it went. I've been painting nature so much, which is so crazy, because I used to never paint like landscapes and stuff, and now I feel like this past summer like all I was painting was landscapes. Like I have so many like outdoors like paintings where there's like trees and clouds, and it's the middle of nowhere. Like I just feel like the art style that I was like doing the last couple months, I feel like that was like heavily connected to like the history of like where my ancestors or like where my family has come from. Very backwoods, very much country, very Mississippi in my opinion. And I just feel like just me doing these pieces, I feel like it was really just to pay homage to where I come from, and certain things that certain people before me like how their lives looked. And I feel like that was just a blessing to be able to kind of like illustrate the life of like, you know, parents or like, you know, other people in my family, just because like I didn't get to grow up like that. And I love the country, and like I wish I would have, but I know that the opportunities that we had in different areas, like, you know, that's the reason why things were done. But I just love the country. I love nature. I love, you know, trees. I love all this stuff. So it's fun to paint it's fun to paint these things. But I am excited to see where I go with my next little, you know, art move when it comes to color pencil and illustration with that. If you ask me how many layers I normally do for my paintings, I would probably say like 5 to 7, like 10, depending on like how detailed like the look is. I'm not the look. I'm so used to doing makeup voiceovers, but it just depends on like how big the piece is and like all the different elements that I do. Because, you know, I will draw like, you know, objects in the foreground and then in the middle ground, in the background, and then like I just keep painting and I keep adding layers until I feel like it looks right. I don't know. I feel like the more you do art and stuff, like you get a feeling of when you feel like the piece is done versus like how other people may feel about it. But yeah, I just like do it I do more layers until I really just feel comfortable with the piece, and I'm like, okay, this looks good. And then once I'm basically done, like, you know, actually painting everything, that's when you'll see me go in with like, you know, black paint to outline everything, just because I just feel like it just brings it out. Like, you don't have to, but I do have a more illustrative style, and I just feel like me outlining everything just makes things pop for me personally. When I say how many layers, I also am talking about like what I do in one session of me doing a painting. So in this session, you know, I added the sun, I added some background to the clouds, I added another layer for the pig and the houses and like the leaves. I'm adding little details on the people. So like that's one layer, but you know, I do a bunch of different things in one session just because I feel like that's the easiest way for me to do it. I just like touch up the areas that I feel like I can add something to, and then once I like take a look back, you know, I'm able to look at the painting for, you know, sometimes it's like a day, or, you know, sometimes it's weeks. It just depends on, you know, what I have going on in my life. Me looking at those paintings and stuff, it helps me figure out, okay, what do I feel like is missing? That's why I like to like keep them up so that I can see them. That way I can like look back to it and feel like, okay, you know, I feel like this would add like, you know, more dimension if I added this, or I feel like this area needs a little bit more, you know, detail, or I need to add some more textures to this spot, you know. So it all just really depends on how I feel like the painting looks. And I feel like I definitely went back in this plane because yeah, I did not draw this proportionally. I freehand basically everything. Like I barely ever like draw something with pencil before I even started. But yeah, this is what I basically got accomplished during this painting session. Doesn't the paint look cute? And this is what it looks like wet. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If y'all have any like art videos you want me to do, please let me know, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.